Hi everyone, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm broadcasting this lesson to you from Central Europe, Hungary. I hope everybody is doing great on this wonderful Saturday. Today we are looking at IELTS Task 2, a problems and solutions type of essay. You can see this kind of essay in general IELTS or in academic IELTS as the second task for your writing mark. As usual, our materials, our strategies come from our websites, gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. That's generalieltshelp.com. And for academic IELTS, check us out at aehelp.com. We have 6 full practice exams, over 100 hours of video lessons, and a fully interactive course for you to get some nice high band scores. Hi, Silahi from Somalia. Hi, Pachu. Hi, Afsana. Good to see students joining in. You can get our IELTS exam books from your Amazon bookstore, an electronic or paperback. Search for GE Helps General IELTS for General IELTS and AE Helps Academic IELTS for academic IELTS exams. We use those in these live classes. General IELTS live streaming is on this channel Wednesday to Saturday, 13:30 to 14:30 Central European Time, CET. Put that into Google and you'll see the time zone difference. And our academic IELTS live streaming is on our Academic English Help YouTube channel from 15 to 16 o'clock Central European Time. So also check that out for some great lessons. If you have questions, comments, you can email me at adrian@gieltshelp.com. That's my name, ADRIAN, at GIELTS help.com. Okay, here's a look at our updated schedule, students. So we're looking at the 19th all the way to the end of the month, the 31st. Today, again, we're doing a Task 2 example. Tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, there is no class. Sorry, my mistake here on the 22nd, there is no class. It should be 23rd. So no class on this day. Okay. And, oops, I see what was going on there. Okay, so 22nd, no class. And then 23rd, task 1, letter writing, 24th, general reading. And then here's the schedule all the way to the 31st. And at the bottom, we have our task 2 question for today. Hi, Munzir. Hi, social networking. Nice to see you in class. All right, so let's get going with today's lesson. Writing task 2, you should spend about 40 minutes on this task, okay? The writing section is 1 hour total in the IELTS. Task 1 is 20 minutes. Task 2 is 40 minutes. Hi, Jubilant. I'm doing great. Task 1, it will be a letter, for instance, or an email composition. Make sure you only spend 20 minutes on that task. It's a good warm-up, and it's worth 1/3 of your writing section mark. So don't spend more than 20 minutes there. Spend 2/3 here, where it's 2/3 of your mark. You have to write at least 250 words. That means if you write less than 250 words for task 2, you will start losing marks. Not a lot. Like if you write 200 words, you might lose a half band score for not completing the task. But if you write like 100 words less, so you only write 150 words for task 2, you will lose at least 1 or 2 band scores, not just because your essay isn't long enough, but also because you don't have enough information for the question. So keep that in mind, okay? Abhishek says, I'm always full of energy. Please give us the tip for that. Also, Abhishek, that's a very interesting question. There are two parts of life that I pay attention to daily. One is regular exercise, and the other is a healthy diet. I don't eat a lot of sugar. I don't eat a lot of carbohydrates, and I do at least an 1 hour exercise each day. After these live classes, I'm going for a 10-kilometer run around Margate Island. It's a beautiful park near my house. So Abhishek, that's the trick. Eat well, exercise daily. Lots of energy. All right. So getting back to task. By the way, that is an important question. Do that and you will do better in IELTS, okay? All right, let's get back to task here. So here's the question for task 2 for today. Again, it's a problems and solutions. So you have to discuss the problems and you have to discuss the solutions, okay? So here we go. There is a growing concern that many people around the world consume an unnecessarily large amount of meat throughout the year. Discuss the problems that overconsumption of meat creates and suggest possible solutions, okay? So, yeah, kind of in line with what I just mentioned about not eating sugar and carbohydrates. Here we're talking about eating a lot of meat. So, again, there's growing concern that many people around the world consume an unnecessarily large amount of meat throughout the year. Discuss the problems that overconsumption of meat creates and suggest possible solutions. All right. Okay, so first step, students, is let's paraphrase this. So let's rephrase this question in our own words to make sure that we understand it, okay? And this can become a part of the background after our hook. So what is another way to say there is a growing concern? What's another way to say that? Pachu, Sarah, Jubilant, James, Abhishek, Nair. How can I say a growing concern? What's another way to express that idea? Let's try to paraphrase this one together. Okay, I'm going to go nice and smooth, step by step. Another way to say growing concern. Okay, Chandra Singh, increasing is good for growing. Popular is not very good for the word concern. Concern is negative, so increase is good. Consideration is not good for concern. There's a better word. It starts with a W. What's the word? Concern is a negative. It's like when I'm like, that's right. Yeah, very good, Jubilant. There's an increasing worry. Yeah. When you're concerned, you're worried. Okay? That many, instead of many, I can use the word millions, okay? Or maybe even billions, but millions for sure. That millions of individuals. What's another way to say around the world? How's a different way to say around the world? Critical increase of Afsana is not good for growing concern. Afsana says globally. Anxiety is okay as well, Shanze. Anxiety for concern is okay. There's an increasing anxiety. So it's not as good as worry, but it works. Okay, globally is good for around the world. So there's an increasing worry that millions of individuals globally. What's another way to say consume? What's an all over global, Sarah, is not good English. Okay, you can't say all over global. You can say all over the globe, Sarah. Okay, so you can do that, but you can't say all over global. So you can say all over the globe, like that. Okay. or around the globe. Pachu, absolutely. So let's keep going here. Consume an unnecessarily large amount. Let's keep paraphrasing. Use your language. It's very good practice. Consume, keep it simple. Eat, that's right. Yeah. So eat. Unnecessarily large amount, a very simple way. Try to think of a very simple way to say unnecessarily large amount. Unnecessarily large amount is a complicated way to say something much more simple. Munzir, consume, eat, very good. Yeah. Careful, Jubilant. Meat consumption among, don't use amongst. Amongst, Jubilant, is Old English. Among is newer English, so you might as well use the more simple newer English. Meat consumption among individuals has grown enormously around the globe. You can't say globally enormous, okay? Unnecessarily large amount. There's a much, much more simple way to say that. You can probably guess if you look at the first letter that I already gave you here, which is a T. Okay. Excessive amount is okay, Pachu. You can say excessive amount or in excess, but there's even a more simple way to say that. Sometimes simple is difficult, but it is the most beautiful and elegant way to use. Again, in IELTS, a lot of students think you have to write very complicated language for task 2. In order to get a high score, but that's not necessarily true. And in university too, if you can express your ideas in a simple, elegant way, that's usually preferred by professors as well as examiners. Now that doesn't mean it's easy, okay? Not trash, Chandra. Unnecessarily large amount. Drum roll, please. Not tons, too much. Okay, so there's an increasing worry that millions of individuals globally eat too much. Too much is a very simple way to say unnecessarily large amount. Not tiny, not tons, just too much. Okay, too much. I know, it takes a bit of practice, ladies and gents. Don't worry about it. You'll get the hang of it. The more you become familiar with English, the easier this will be, okay? What's another way to say meat? How could you paraphrase meat? I wouldn't do heavy food, David. Heavy food is, could be sugar, could be carbohydrates. Meat is actually not heavy food necessarily, especially if you're eating fish or if you're eating white meat, for example. What is meat? What part of diet is it? If you ask the chemist, we wouldn't say flesh. Flesh is awkward. Flesh we usually use in human anatomy. So unless we're talking about cannibalism, cannibalism is when we eat other people. Cannibalism is, you can say flesh, but otherwise no. Beef is okay, but Afsana says protein, protein, protein. And if I want to be more clear, because there's different kinds of protein, very good students, now you're getting it, then I would say animal protein, okay? So there's an increasing worry that millions of individuals globally eat too much animal protein in an annum, okay? Annum is a year. Maybe say within. Okay, so a large amount of meat throughout the year, animal protein within an annum. Discuss the problems that overconsumption of meat creates and suggest possible solutions. Here, I'll paraphrase that nice and fast. What are the negative results? And how can these be handled? Okay, so that would be a nice paraphrase. Okay, so read with me. Original question. there is a growing concern that many people around the world consume an unnecessarily large amount of meat throughout the year. Discuss problems that overconsumption of meat creates and suggest possible solutions. There is an increasing worry that millions of individuals globally eat too much animal protein within an annum. What are the negative results and how can these be handled? All right, so that works. Jubilant says, briefly explain the rationale behind this activity and possible solutions. Explain the rationale is a little bit different, Jubilant, than the problems. Rationale means the reasoning, so the reasons rather than the problems. Okay, rationale is not necessarily a negative. Okay, so far so good, students. So a little bit of planning here before we start writing. Let's figure out 2 problems and 2 solutions, okay? So problems and solutions here. That's the goal. So 2 problems. What is one problem of eating too much meat? So what do you think is one of the problems? Now, when you think of problems, okay, this is a strategy for problems and solutions essays. Let me just give this to you nice and quick. So when you have a problems and solutions type essay, think about problems. So A, this is the strategy here, about problems for the individual. And B, problems for society. Okay, so when we're thinking about problems, a good way to think of 2 clear points for your essay to write about for your body paragraphs is to think about the individual, so think about the person, and then think about the bigger group of the world. So what are the problems? Afsana says, well, maybe weight gain, right? So for the individual, health, which is maybe related to weight gain. Sure, that's possible. Also, we could say it's expensive, but that's kind of another problem. Okay. And let's see, what else do we have? Let's not think of the solutions yet. Let's just focus on the problems. Suzanne says dependence on raw foods. I'm not sure about that. Pose health risks, cholesterol, yeah. Exercise is good, yeah. So Shanzei says the social problem is land is used to raise animals instead of crops. Okay, sure. What do you mean by that, Shanzei? You're on the right track, but can you be a little bit more specific? So, okay, we have the individual figured out now, students. So for the one person, it's health problems, cholesterol, getting fat, heart disease, other types of problems associated with eating too much meat for the person. Now for society, Shanzei said using land for animals instead of crops. But what's the bigger problem? So what's the difficulty with farming cattle, for example? So cows and so on. Jubilant says there's an imbalance in ecological biodiversity, so it messes up the ecosystem of the planet. It's possible. What else? Anybody? What else is difficult for society when we're raising livestock? The name is livestock. We're cutting down forests, Shanzei, that's right. In Brazil, this huge deforestation that happens for animal or cattle ranching, for animal grazing, that's true. Maybe this might be new for some of you, but raising livestock and animal farming is extremely costly for resources, okay? So For society, animal farming uses up a lot of resources. Okay, meaning land, water, energy. Okay. In fact, there's an interesting scientific idea that if people ate half the amount of meat around the world, especially people that consume a lot of meat in Europe and North America, South America, then we could stop world hunger. So animal production requires so much extra energy that that is one of the major causes of famine in the world and not having enough resources. Okay, so pollution as well. Okay, so now that's the problem, right? So now we can talk about the solution. For the first one, we said do exercise. And what else? Other than doing exercise, well, probably you're thinking a very logical solution is eat less meat. Okay. And here, produce less meat, increase cost of meat. So discourage people from eating so much meat. Okay, good. So let's start writing our essay. So we have some good ideas now, students. Now we're ready to write our essay. In the real IELTS, when you're doing these first two steps, so doing this step of paraphrasing the question, so changing the question into your own words, and the step of planning, so here identifying two problems and solutions, you need to do this within 2 minutes, 3 minutes, okay? Pachu says, hey guys, become a vegetarian, all right? Did you know an 8-ounce steak requires 1,000 liters of water, or a ton of water to produce one 8-ounce steak? It's a fact. All right, so here we go. Let's do the introductory paragraph. Introduction. The introductory paragraph should have 3 key parts. Okay, anybody that watches my classes regularly here or on academic English Help YouTube channel, does anybody know what the 3 parts of the introduction are? Some good suggestions there, Afsana. Don't eat beef, eat chicken. A little bit less demanding. Afsana says, yeah, it's the hook, the background, and the thesis. And you're absolutely right, Afsana. Good for you keeping that in mind. Obviously, you're doing the necessary studies and staying focused. So it's the hook, background, and thesis. What is the hook? So we start with the hook, okay? This is just for your information. You don't need to write this in IELTS. This is just for your information. It's after this where you start to write. Yes, you deserve that little angel halo, Afsana. Good for you. Jubilant also, hats off. I know you're a good student. So what is the hook? A lot of students think, my teacher says you don't need a hook for IELTS and I shouldn't waste time to write one. That's not true. Identify the topic and write a hook with the topic. It's good to catch the reader's attention and also make you focused on your writing. So Marwa, that's right. It's a general global statement. So you're absolutely right, Marwa. Afsana, yes, you are right also. It's a simple fact, including the topic, something that catches the reader. It's easy to understand. Jubilant already is suggesting a hook. Jubilant says, let's say much meat, much malady. Possible, Jubilant. It's quite powerful, and I think in a university essay that would work. On the IELTS, it's maybe a bit too fancy, too risky, but I think it's okay. I think it's okay, Jubilant. Vazen says, a sentence that is written surprisingly. Yeah, it gets the attention of the reader. Sure. So let's write one for this topic of eating too much meat in the world. So write your hook as I'm doing it, and then we'll compare. Okay, let's see what you come up with. This is what I came up with. Many people around the world consume more meat per day than at any other time in human history. Okay, or at any other period in human history, which is probably true. We never had the luxury of eating as much meat in history as we do in many parts of the world today. Okay, all right. So, first love, first sight. Yeah, Pachu, kind of. It's kind of the right idea. All right. So write your hooks. I'll check them out, give you some feedback. Now comes the background. Okay, the background actually has two smaller parts. It has the definition of terms and importance of question. These are each one sentence. Okay, so you need to tell your reader, well, what do you mean meat, animal protein, and what do you mean too much? So 2, 3, 4 times each day. And why is this question important? Well, it's important for the future of human society. So that's what you need to explain in 2 clear sentences for your reader in the background. Now let's take a look at some of your hooks. Jubilant says, a man can be healthy without killing animals for food. Jubilant, that is a wonderful hook. I really like it. Okay, I really like it. It's a bit suggestive. You have to be careful with that in hooks, but it's very catchy, so it's a strong hook, okay? Shanzai says, if people want to save the planet, don't say anyone, Shanzai, say people instead, okay? If people want to save the planet, stop eating meat. They need to stop eating meat. Okay, that's a decent hook too. It's a bit suggestive. I say stay away from suggestions, stay with facts, but it's good, Shanzai, it's good. Marwa says, meat consumption is a regular part of daily routine for millions of people. Go right for that big number, Marwa, millions of people. And I would even maybe go quantitative on that, Marwa. So meat consumption 3 to 4 times a day is routine for millions of people. Okay? It's even a better hook. All right? But you're on the right track. So those are great. Okay, try your background. I'll do the same here. I'll put that together. Now, if you have a good paraphrase of the question, so this is the original task 2 question, this is the paraphrase, then I can just take that and use that as part of my background because it expresses the importance of the question. Okay, so I can stick that in. That works as why is this question important? Because there's an increasing worry that millions of individuals globally eat too much animal protein within each year, within an annum. Okay, now definition. definition of my terms here. So explaining what I mean by consuming animals. So especially in the West, but other regions of the world, it is common for people to eat meat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay. All right, so let's see what we have so far. Make sure it makes sense. All right, let's see what you did for the background. Pradeep says, meat consumption is soaring at an alarming pace, and meat is consumed by millions of people daily. Too much meat is consumed by millions of people daily. Pradeep, that's pretty good. I think at a startling is what you tried to write, startling pace. And careful with that second pronoun, it's dangling. Usman says, globally, people consume protein through animal meat. Okay, that's good as well, Usman, for your definition. Sarah says, scientific research state that we should eat meat only once every 10 days. However, people are eating animal proteins 3 to 4 times a day. Sarah, that's very good. I just finished that sentence. So scientific research shows that people should eat animal meat once every 10 days. However, many of the citizens around the world eat animal proteins 3 to 4 times a day. Okay, that's very good. Social networking. Look back at the chat and you will find the meaning of hook. Okay, Pachu says meat is animal protein obtained from beef, lamb, pork, and is consumed 1.5 times a day. Pachu, very good. I really like your definition. Yeah, so meat is animal protein. So what is meat, right? So I like that, okay? I'm going to use Pachu's here because that's a nice definition of terms. So meat is animal protein gained from livestock, such as beef and pork, as well as poultry, like chicken, and seafood, including fish and crayfish. Okay, that's a really nice definition, and that shows your lexical resource for the IELTS as well. So it's good. Okay, so many people around the world consume meat, consume more meat per day than at any other period in human history. Meat is animal protein gained from livestock such as beef and pork, as well as poultry like chicken and seafood, including fish and crayfish. Especially in the West, but other regions of the world, it is common for people to eat meat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There is an increasing worry that millions of individuals globally eat too much animal protein within an annum. Okay, great. Now comes the very important part of our introduction, which is the thesis. Okay, and a good thesis, your thesis is your argument. Okay, make it clear with 2 points. Okay, here I'm going to give you a little bit more instruction. Do not write this essay will discuss the problems caused by overconsumption of meat and give possible solutions. Okay, So do not write this kind of a hook, or sorry, this kind of a thesis. Why not? Why is this thesis bad? This essay will discuss the problems caused by overconsumption of meat and give possible solutions. Why is this thesis bad? Why will that not get you too many points in your IELTS writing section? And I want to show you this because I know a lot of students write this kind of a thesis at the end of the introduction. It's not a good thesis. In university, your professor will cross it out and say, this is ridiculous, rewrite your thesis, okay? So a professor will not accept that. You're right, Jubilant. It's what the question's asking, so it's very redundant. We're clear about the question, so we don't need to restate it. Sarah says, yeah, the examiner, the grader, the reader should be able to understand this just by reading your essay. They don't need to be told this information. So there's no value for this kind of a sentence in writing, okay? And Jubilant says, well, you just wasted 10 seconds of your time, 10 seconds of the examiner's time, 2 lines of the paper and the ink, and really didn't do anything, okay? So there's no reason for this. So your thesis should be a direct thesis, okay? It should directly tell your reader the problems and the solutions, okay? So here is an example of a good thesis statement, okay? So eating too much meat creates problems for both the individual and society's health. Fortunately, there are solutions for this, okay? That is a much, much better thesis because it very clearly tells your reader that, okay, look, I'm not just going to give you a general idea of I'm going to talk about some problems, but I'll tell you exactly where the problems are. The problems are for the individual's health and for society's health. Okay, so this type of thesis is much, much more powerful, and this is the kind of thesis where if you write it like this, the examiner will think, aha, this student has a good idea of high-level writing using English, and they're probably giving me an essay which is at least a band 7. Okay, so very clear. What's my point number 1? What is my body paragraph 1? When you read this thesis, what do you think my body paragraph 1 will be about? Okay. Meanwhile, I'll take a look at Jubilant's thesis. So overconsumption of meat poses problems such as increasing health risks and raising biodiversity imbalance. For both individuals and community, you don't need that part. So I would stop with imbalance, Jubilant, and then however, there are solutions for these problems. You don't need to say above stated because it's clear, okay? So Jubilant, take out the for both individual and community because it's clear from the 2 points that you're making, and take out the for the above stated, okay? Just for these problems. It's good enough, all right? Much more clear. Very good, Shehnaz Gill, sorry, trying to pronounce that right. Shehnaz Gill says, eating too much meat can affect the individual's and society's health negatively. Much, much better thesis, okay? Overconsumption of meat affects not only the individual's health, but also the economy of society. Afsana, that's pretty good, but be careful of parallel grammar. That means your point 1 has to have the same grammar structure as your point 2. So Afsana, your point 1 is individual's health, and your point 2 is the economy of society. Individual's health is adjective noun, possessive noun, and the other one is noun, preposition noun. So you don't have parallel grammar, Afsana. You need to parallel them. Individual's health, but also society's economy. Okay, Afsana, does that make sense? So I'll say that one more time. Overconsumption of meat affects not only the individual's health, but also society's economics or society's economy. And then you have parallel grammar between your 2 points. In university writing, that's very important. All right? Okay, good job. So that is a band 9 introduction. Okay, it's a little bit long, but that is a band 9. Sheikh Nazgil says, do I need to say in my opinion? If you are writing a first person essay, Sheikh Naz, then you can use in my opinion, absolutely. If we're writing a third person essay, as in this case here, then we don't need to use it. Okay, so you have to decide. The question does ask, use examples from your own experience, so we might want to change it to a first person. So here it says, use explanation examples from your own experience. So you can change it to a first person if you want. Just do that in the beginning. I don't want to lose everybody explaining first and third person at this point. Okay, so let's go write our body paragraph. Body paragraph, here we go. What do body paragraphs start with? So what is the first sentence in a body paragraph? Body paragraphs have 3 to 4 parts. They start with a, anybody? Let's see. They start with a, somebody's probably writing it into chat right now. If there's no leg, I'm sure I'd see it. Topic sentence. Okay. And it also has explanation and example. And then sometimes it has a connecting or concluding sentence. Okay. Those are the 4 parts of a body paragraph. You don't really need the connecting sentence necessarily. For body 1, you might include it. It's not absolutely necessary. When you're looking at some textbooks or with other IELTS teachers, you might hear them say supporting points. Explanation is a supporting point. Example is a supporting point, okay? It's just a more clear way to understand what supporting point actually means, okay? An explanation or an example. A topic sentence is a clear expression, a deeper expansion, let's say an expansion of the thesis first point. Okay, so this is another reason, students, why it's really important to write a clear thesis first point, because that helps you to know how to write your body paragraph. Okay, so now we know from our thesis that body paragraph 1 is about the problem for the individual's health. Okay, so I can express that and expand on that in a full sentence. Okay, here we go. When individuals or when people consume too much meat in their daily diet, it leads to a plethora of physical ailments including obesity, cholesterol or heart disease, and what else? Do we have a third one, or should we just keep it at 2? Obesity and heart disease. Okay, if you can't think of a third one, don't force it. Nothing pops to mind for me right now. I'll just do that. And heart disease, okay? So that's my topic sentence. When people consume too much meat in their daily diet, it leads to a plethora. Plethora means many different kinds of physical ailments. Ailments is another way to say illnesses or problems, including obesity and heart disease. All right, now comes the explanation. So explain that. What do you mean it leads to these kinds of ailments? Pachu says you could have put cancer as well. Yeah, Jubilant says it too, cancer. Sure, possible. So obesity, cancer, and heart disease. Yeah, there is an argument that overconsumption of meat is one of the possible causes or risk factors for cancer. Cardiovascular disease, heart disease. Yeah, Jubilant James, right. Okay. You don't need to write things like to begin with, Shekhnaz, when you have good connection with information. Okay. All right. So let's explain that. What do we mean by that? So animal protein is extremely rich in fats, sugars, and minerals. Therefore, a high intake of these nutrients creates difficulties in digestion, and excess materials, molecules, are deposited in the body. Okay. So just creating this explanation. So we're explaining why does that happen. So animal protein is extremely rich in fats, sugars, and minerals. Therefore, a high intake of these nutrients creates difficulties in digestion, and excess molecules are deposited in the blood, leading to problems. All right, now comes my example. So I need an example of that. I'm sure we can all think of examples, okay? Marwa, you could do that. So you could, if you're fast at writing, you have some good English, you could develop your ideas further and say, in addition, these days, many meats are injected with growth hormones that have further negative effects on human health. Just be careful, Marwa, not to go really off topic, but it's nice high-level English, so it's good. Okay. Sarah says, by eating a lot, Sarah, is 2 words. By eating a lot of animal protein, which includes fat, it has a negative effect on the body and blood. Don't use the word our. Take out that pronoun, Sarah. Our can be a little bit awkward. So a lot is 2 words. Don't use our. Okay. Ailments means diseases, Jubilant. That's right. Thank you for that further explanation. Yeah, so social networking, we could say in several countries in the West, such as the United States and Canada, obesity from overconsumption of meats has become a epidemic, which is a little bit false because it's not just meat, it's also too much sugars, but that's okay, social networking, so you could go with that example, okay? Now, because I'm using third person, I don't want to switch to I, me, or my, so I'm going to stick with the third person here. So, in some countries, such as the United States, the excessive eating of animals has contributed to an obesity epidemic. Many individuals are more than 50% above their healthy BMI, I think, body mass index. Okay. So that would be a good example. Okay, so in some countries, be specific, such as the United States, the excessive eating of animals has contributed to an obesity epidemic. Many individuals are more than 50% above their healthy BMI, or if I want to keep it more simple, I'm not even sure of that acronym, their healthy body weight. Okay. Now, am I done with this paragraph? Is this finished? Okay, is this finished? Thanks, Jubilant, for for backing me up on the BMI. I don't have a chance to search real time on Google, but I thought it was BMI. So, all right. Am I done? No, Usman says I'm not done. That's right. Never forget, with this type of question, there is another important step. We haven't given a solution. That's right. Afsana, even before the connecting sentence. Fortunately, there are two simple solutions for this health issue. One is exercise. Two is reducing meat consumption. Both of these interventions require effort on part of the individual and society. Okay, so that is my solution. Just going along nice and smooth here. And now, Afsana, you're right. I need a connecting sentence. Okay, so I need to connect. Nevertheless, this is only one. So actually, I'm going to go with a different type of connecting sentence here than usual. Usually I just say, nevertheless, this is only one of two problems caused by meat consumption. But here I'm going to do a little bit of a different, a little bit more fancy connection here. This is the problem and solution on a micro scale. And there are also problems on the macro scale. Okay, so micro scale is the individual, macro scale is society. Okay, now that's going to be my body paragraph 2. All right, so here we go. Let's read what we have so far. Make sure we haven't gone completely nuts. Jubilant, yeah, macro is the community, or even greater is the country or the nation. Let's read together, students. So the original question here is, there is a growing concern that many people around the world consume an unnecessarily large amount of meat throughout the year. Discuss the problems that overconsumption of meat creates and suggest possible solutions. Here's our response. Many people around the world consume more meat per day than at any other period in human history. Meat is animal protein gained from livestock such as beef and pork, as well as poultry like chicken, and seafood including fish and crayfish. Especially in the West, but other regions of the world, it is common for people to eat meat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There is an increasing worry that millions of individuals globally eat too much animal protein within the annum. Eating too much meat creates problems for both the individual's and society's health. Fortunately, there are solutions for this. When people consume too much meat in their daily diet, it leads to a plethora of physical ailments, including obesity and heart disease. Animal protein is extremely rich in fats, sugars, and minerals. Therefore, a high intake of these nutrients creates difficulties in digestion, and excess molecules are deposited in the body, leading to medical problems. In some countries, such as the United States, the excessive eating of animals has contributed to an obesity epidemic. Many individuals are more than 50% above their healthy body weight. Fortunately, there are two simple solutions for this health issue. One is exercise, two is reducing meat consumption. Both of these interventions require effort on part of the individual and society. This is the problem and solution on a micro scale, and there are also problems on the macro scale. Okay? So that's what the introduction and body paragraph 1 read like. Now, for body paragraph 2, we need to talk about the problems of meat consumption or consuming too much meat for society. Okay? So, problems and solutions for eating too much meat on society. Here we go. All right, so that's what body 2 is for. Mahabal says, do I need to use passive sentences to improve my writing? Not necessarily. Mahabal, always think about what you want to say, and if the passive voice is useful, then use it. Students, when should you use the passive voice in an essay? By the way, in academic writing, it's always suggested to use active voice. In university, professors will expect you to use active voice whenever possible. When do we use the passive voice in writing or communication? It's a good, quick grammar note as we're wrapping up here. Anybody? When do you use the passive voice in communication? A little side note, sure, why not? I'll put it way up here at the top. Okay, this is a good little grammar note bonus for everybody. Okay, it's logic. You should always use logic. Okay. It's not when active is not required. It is, drum roll please. It's funny, Jubilant. Yeah. When you either do not know the agent of the action, do not care about the agent or want to emphasize the object and the action, but not the agent. Okay, that's the answer. So if you don't know who did it, then you use the passive voice. The dishes in the hotel restaurant were broken yesterday. By who? We don't know. Nobody told us. Somebody broke them and ran away. Okay? So if you don't know the doer or the agent of the action, that's when you use passive voice. Otherwise, you should use active voice. Okay, students, staying on track here. So task 2 question, problems and solutions. We just did the introduction. We did body 1. For body paragraph 2 and the conclusion, I challenge you to finish the essay at home. You know what you're doing. Send me body 2 and the conclusion. I will give you a score estimate on what you would probably get for that level of writing in the IELTS. You can email body paragraph 2 and the conclusion to adrian@gieltshelp.com, and I'll get back to you in the next couple of days. I am going to be teaching an academic IELTS Task 1 writing flowchart in 30 minutes on our Academic English Helps channel, so you can check that out in a 30 minutes time. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I hope you picked up some good tips and strategies for quality writing using the English language, and of course to get those high IELTS band scores. Thank you for the great participation. Gabriel, Biju, Rajan, John, thanks for being here. Manzir, thank you for the compliment. Pradeep, you're very welcome. Again, I will see all of you next week on Wednesday. Remember, Wednesday the 23rd, we will continue with Task 1 General here for writing a letter. And until then, join our premium courses at gieltshelp.com, aehelp.com for general IELTS. Make sure you're on the website with the green background. Click on that red button. And for academic IELTS, be sure to be on this one with the blue background. Click on that red button. Thank you so much, students, for your participation. Always a pleasure to have you in class. Much love to all of you. Bye for now.